It's kind of wild to think about the internet way back in its early days. Like, no one even considered cybersecurity because, honestly, the internet wasn't really built for security, right?
Exactly. The early days of the internet were all about openness and sharing information. What most people don't realize is that security actually came into focus only after it was almost too late. One of the turning points, though, was the Morris worm back in 1988. It's often called the first major cyber attack.
The Morris worm, let's dive into that.
So it was a self-replicating program or worm that infected around 10% of the internet at the time. Think about that 10%. Granted, the internet was tiny compared to today, but still, it took down networks and servers. It caused what was then a huge disruption.
Hold up. 10% back then feels like, what, losing half the internet today? That's massive.
Pretty much. And what made it such a big deal was that it revealed just how vulnerable systems were. It spurred a lot of early conversations about needing actual security measures.
Okay, so it's like nobody thought, hey, maybe we should lock up the front door until the Morris worm walked right in.
That's actually a decent analogy. It also led to the creation of things like the Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT, to manage incidents. And as the internet grew through the 1990s, we started seeing more tools being developed, things like firewalls and intrusion detection systems.
Right, and firewalls are basically like the bouncers of the internet?
Yeah, a good way to think of it. Firewalls inspect traffic coming in or out of a network, deciding what to allow based on predefined rules. Intrusion detection systems took it further by spotting unusual or suspicious activity, kind of like security cameras that don't just monitor but alert you.
Got it. And I'm guessing more people started paying attention to this stuff as more joined the internet, right?
Exactly. The more people connected, the more vulnerabilities surfaced. Early digital threats really reinforced one key lesson: being proactive, not reactive, is critical in cybersecurity.
Even with all these lessons on being proactive, here comes the 2000s, and we still see huge gaps being exploited. Now, take, for instance, the ILOVEYOU virus. Okay, I've got to ask, who comes up with names like that? What exactly happened with it?
The ILOVEYOU virus. It was a computer worm that wasn't just one of the most widespread infections. It highlighted just how easily email could be exploited. This virus relied on simple human curiosity. People would open an email thinking it had a love letter, and boom, it would overwrite files and replicate itself to everyone in their contact list. Around 10% of the world's internet-connected computers got infected. A massive deal back then.
Wait, 10%? That sounds unreal. So basically, people couldn't resist clicking on the digital equivalent of P.S. I love you.
Exactly. It made it painfully clear how social engineering attacks could manipulate human behavior. Businesses ramped up their email security measures after that, implementing things like filters and policies to reduce these risks.
So that was kind of like the start of phishing attacks as we know them today, right?
Right. And through the 2010s, attacks only became more sophisticated. Take the Yahoo breach, for instance. It compromised 3 billion accounts. The scale of that shook people's trust in storing data online.
Yeah, 3 billion. That number still blows my mind. I mean, that's almost everyone who had email at the time, right?
It's up there, yeah. And breaches like that forced companies to rethink policies around data security and encryption. But speaking of sophistication, Stuxnet from 2010 was another watershed moment.
Oh, I've heard of that. That's the one targeting nuclear facilities, right?
Right. Stuxnet introduced the world to the concept of cyber warfare. It's believed a nation-state engineered it to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. It wasn't just about stealing data. It physically impacted industrial equipment. That was unprecedented.
Okay, hold on a sec. So we're not just talking about stealing your password or crashing a computer. This was straight up controlling physical hardware?
Exactly. It blurred the line between the digital and physical, showing the world how destructive tailored attacks could be. And that laid the groundwork for ransomware attacks like WannaCry and NotPetya in 2017, which escalated things even further.
Let's talk about those for a second. What made WannaCry and NotPetya such a turning point?
For starters, WannaCry was a global ransomware attack that hit systems in over 150 countries, including hospitals, transportation companies, you name it. It encrypted data and demanded payment in Bitcoin. NotPetya followed the same year, but it acted more like an actual weapon, paralyzing systems worldwide, especially in Ukraine.
So it's like WannaCry wanted your money, but NotPetya just wanted to break stuff.
Yep. Ransomware became a wake-up call for governments and organizations, showing just how underprepared many were for these kinds of attacks. It shifted cybersecurity priorities globally.
Building on what we've just covered with ransomware and its global impact, it feels like we've stepped into an even more complex era. Everything's connected now, and attackers seem to be evolving faster than ever. Is that because of AI blurring the line between what protects us and what attacks us?
Exactly. AI is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's helping detect and defend against threats at an incredible speed, like spotting patterns in network traffic that humans never could. But on the flip side, attackers are using it to create hyper-targeted phishing campaigns and even bypass traditional defenses.
Wait, so the same tech that's like, hey, I'm here to save the day, is also being used to break into systems? How does that even happen?
Well, consider something like AI-powered social engineering. Attackers can use AI to mimic voice patterns for your deepfake audio or craft phishing emails so convincing they're nearly impossible to distinguish from the real thing. It's getting harder for people and systems to tell the difference.
That's insane. So it's like, even being cautious isn't enough anymore. What do businesses, or heck, regular people even do to keep up?
That's where cyber hygiene really comes in. Simple practices like using strong passwords, enabling multi-factor authentication, and keeping software updated can go a long way. It's not just about relying on technology, it's about how you use it.
Okay, but let's be honest. How many people actually follow through on those basics? Like, if I had $1 for every time someone said, oh, I'll update my software later.
Fair point. It's one of those things that seems small until it's too late. But organizations also carry a lot of responsibility here. They need to invest in protecting customer data, things like encryption, regular audits, and employee training to recognize threats.
Yeah, because let's face it, one weak link in a company, whether it's someone reusing their password or clicking on the wrong link, can take the whole operation down.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of state-sponsored attacks. We're talking about cyber operations linked to major powers like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. These aren't just about stealing data. They want to disrupt economies, elections, even critical infrastructure.
Hold up. So this isn't just hackers in a basement somewhere. This is politics?
Absolutely. Cyber has become another front in global geopolitics. And it's not just governments that are targets. Businesses and even individuals can get caught in the crossfire. That's why pairing emerging technologies like AI with smart policies and preparation is vital.
All right. So we're looking at a battlefield where the weapons keep changing. Honestly, it's exhausting just trying to keep up.
That's such a perfect analogy. The battlefield where the weapons keep changing. And looking back, the battles have come a long way too. From old school viruses like the Morris worm to the massive breaches and highly sophisticated attacks of the 2010s, it's clear the digital landscape doesn't stand still. And now with emerging challenges like AI, we're seeing tools that can both protect and threaten us simultaneously.
It's honestly kind of wild how far we've come, both in good and bad ways. The line between defending ourselves and getting exploited is, well, thinner than ever. But hey, that's why stuff like good cyber hygiene and organizational responsibility are like non-negotiable now.
Exactly. And next time we're turning the clock back again, diving into the 90s and the early days of the web. We'll explore Web 1.0, the dot-com boom, and how the internet as we know it really started taking shape. It's going to be a fascinating rewind through time.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that. Oh, and speaking of not missing things, if this episode's made you think about the security of your website, your social media strategy, or even SEO, why not reach out? At Modularity Networks, we've got you covered, whether it's a tech overhaul or just a quick audit. We can help you stay ahead in the digital game. Get a quote at modularity.us.
It's all about being proactive, not reactive, just like cybersecurity. So head over to modularity.us to get a quote today.
And that's all for today. Great talking as always. See you next time.